Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's a real pleasure for me to be with you today via this video message because I am unable to be with you live today. I would like today to give two short presentations. The first one is on the European Union Forum of Judges for the Environment. And this organization, which I'm sharing for the moment, should be seen in the broader context of the UNEP's Global Judges Symposium on the Role of Law and Sustainable Development, and a follow-up of this. This UNEP is the United Nations Environmental Program, so a division of the United Nations organizations. And UNEP has convened in August 2002 during the Rio Plus 10 conference in Johannesburg a Global Judges Symposium on the Role of Law and Sustainable Development. And this was the first time that the world judiciary gathered on this theme, and at that moment I think there were around 70 Chief Justices and Senior Judges present during that conference. And at the end of that symposium or conference, the so-called Johannesburg Principles on the Role of Law and Sustainable Development were adopted. And I like only to highlight the main points in my opinion of these declarations. In the first place, judges should promote the implementation, development and enforcement of international and national law relating to the environment and sustainable development. That seems to be a really important point, I think. And secondly, the judges acknowledged that there was a need for training in environmental law and also for regional and sub-regional cooperation amongst judges in the field of environmental law and sustainability law. And that's the reason why the European Union Forum of Judges for the Environment was created, a regional forum for judges in the field of environmental law for, in the first place, the European Union. And why the European Union? The European Union is a very important environmental law maker, and depending on the situation of the member states concerned, 70 to 90% of domestic environmental law is believed to be European Union law driven. For the moment, we have 28 member states, and there are more states applying for membership still, while others are contemplating, as you know, to leave the European Union. Roughly there are 500 million people concerned with the European Union and its legislation. And we know a diversity of legal systems. We have civil law jurisdictions, we have common law jurisdictions, and we have some mixture systems, let's say, looking, for example, to the Scandinavian world. And there is a very important role of the Court of Justice of the European Union in that sense that that court has authority to give binding interpretations on European law in general and European environmental law in particular. The forum was created in 2004 by four people at that moment, four judges. In the first place, Mr. Guy Canivet, who was at that moment the first president of the Cour de Cassation, the Supreme Court of France, Lord Robert Cornwall of the United Kingdom, which is now a member of the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom, Justice Amedeo Postiglione from the Supreme Court of Italy, and myself being a judge in the Constitutional Court of Belgium. What's the aim of that forum? In the first place, exchange of experiences in the area of training of the judiciary in environmental law, and That's the reason why, of course, we are interested in trainings like the Themis training you are following for the moment. Secondly, to contribute to a better knowledge of environmental law. Third, share experiences with environmental case law, and so contribute to a more effective enforcement of environmental law. The membership is open for all judges within the European Union and the European Economic Area with a special interest in environmental law, and there is no fee to pay. But also, and that can be interesting for you, judges from states that are applying for membership can follow our activities in a so-called observer status. The European Union Forum of Judges is supported by DG Environment of the European Commission and also by the DG Environment of our National Federal Service for the Environment in Belgium. Our main activities consist in annual conferences, and the first one was organized in the Netherlands, in The Hague in 2004, and the topic was the organization of national judiciaries in relation to environmental law and training in the field of environmental law. Let's say it was an exercise of stock taking of those areas of interest. The second conference in 2005 was in London, dealing with waste legislation and the case law and the experiences with this case law. The third one in Helsinki in 2006 dealt with nature protection legislation and permitting. In Luxembourg 2007, the item was criminal enforcement of environmental law. Then Paris 2008, conference on soil pollution and remediation of soil pollution. In Stockholm in 2009, the topic was integrated pollution prevention and control. Then we had in 2010 a conference in Brussels on the application of European biodiversity law at national level. In Warsaw in 2011 on the environmental protection and land use planning. We returned to The Hague in 2012, and then the topic was national judges and European Union environmental law. We went to Vienna in 2013 on the topic of access to justice in environmental matters, followed by Budapest 2014, conference on environmental impact assessment. Last year, the conference was held in the north of Italy, in Bolzano, on the protection of the environment through criminal law. And this year, the conference is in Bucharest on human rights and the protection of the environment. So the first activity are these annual conferences where we have most of the time presentations from a European Union perspective on the one hand, and also exchange of experiences on the national level with case law relating to the subjects we are discussing. Here you can see a photo from our conference in Budapest with the Chief Justice of Hungary, which is also a member of our forum, and here a photo of our conference last year in Italy, in Bolzano. There are a few other activities of the forum. First, very important, I think, is the involvement of our forum in the working bodies of the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe Convention on access to information, public participation in decision making, and access to justice in environmental matters, the so-called Aarhus Convention. So the forum is active in the so-called task force on access to justice, under this convention, and is also involved in training activities for judges concerning this convention in different sub-regions of the UNICE convention. So in the past there were training activities, for example, in Kiev, in Tirana, in Tbilisi and other places. We are also involved in the OSCE activities in this field because, as you know, there is a sort of collaboration between OSCE and the Aarhus Convention. Next activity is what is called developing dialogue between European Union and national judges in European Union environmental law. In fact, it is a training program sponsored by the European Commission in collaboration with national judicial training institutes. And every year 4 to 5 training seminars on different topics of European Union environmental law, such as nature, waste, environmental impact assessment, are organized in different judicial training institutions, most of the time in English. And for the moment there are more than 500 judges who have followed one or more of these training seminars. We are also represented in some advisory committees of DG Environment of the European Commission, working advisory committees on environmental inspections, access to justice, and so on. We are also active on the global scale through UNEP, so the United Nations Environmental Programme. We have been associated to the World Congress of Chief Justices, Attorney Generals and Auditors Generals, which were held in 2012 in Rio de Janeiro during the Rio Plus 20 conference, and there has been some follow-up activities. For example, earlier this year's World Conference on Environmental Law, also in Rio de Janeiro. We collaborate also with other partners in the enforcement chain, so to speak. There is a strong collaboration with the European Network of Public Prosecutors for the Environment, which has been stimulated to come to life by our forum, especially during our Brussels conference in 2010, where we gathered also for the first time prosecutors working in the field of environmental law of nearly all member states of the European Union. For the moment we are associated to a Life Plus project which has been initiated by NP, and in this Life project there are 4 working groups on waste, on wildlife crime, on air pollution, and there is also a working group on sanctioning and adjudications, and the lead of that working group is taken by the European Union Forum of Judges for the Environment. We work together with IMPEL, which is the European Union Network for the Implementation and Enforcement of Environmental Law. We work together with Interpol, Europol and MV Crime Net, with INEAS, the International Network for Environmental Compliance and Enforcement. And one of the important new activities was earlier this year we had the so-called 4 networks conference organized in cooperation with IMPEL, with MV CrimeNet, with NP and with our judges forum, which was held in Utrecht, and all the documentations about this conference can be found on the internet. So if you like to have more information about our forum, please visit our website. So all the important information of our conferences can be found there, interesting documents and links which can be useful when adjudicating environmental cases.